With the release of Dawntrail, a lot of classes have been changed, for better or for worse, and it's my job to inform you of all the little or big changes to your favorite classes. Let's jump right into it with Dragoon. Dragoon was the class that everyone knew was getting a rework, along with Astrologian, so what actually happened to it? Let's start from the beginning. Full Thrust was reduced from 400 to 380 potency, Spine Shatter Dive was, unfortunately, removed, and in its stead was replaced by Winged Glide. In the same vein as Dark Knight and Gunbreaker, this is a gap closer that no longer does any damage. What does this mean for Dragoon? Well, you can still use Elusive Jump, your lovely backflip as a gap closer, but there's not really any point to it, since you've got a much better gap closer now. It can still be used to get away from the boss or to traverse the arena though, but a lot of situations will be made easier with Winged Glide instead. Dragonfire Dive now does 500 potency from the previous 300, a massive increase in potency. Full Thrust, Chaos Thrust, and their upgrades no longer give the buff Wheel in Motion. Instead, they are just normal combo attacks that you can now technically press at any time. Battle Litany has been increased from 15 seconds to 20 seconds, like all the other raid-wide buffs on the other classes. Gerskogel has been changed significantly. It now has a 60-second recast time, just 280 potency from the previous 260, but 50% less damage for all enemies rather than 30. Now Gerskogel just grants Blood of the Dragon before level 70, increasing damage dealt by 10% for 20 seconds. At level 70 plus, it grants Life of the Dragon, increasing your damage dealt by 15% and giving 3 stacks of Nastrod ready. With Nastrod being changed to a recast time of 2 seconds, allowing you to use it between every GCD, and dealing 50% less for all remaining enemies rather than 30%. Drakesbane is a new skill which replaces the second GCD in your Wheel in Motion combo. After you use Fanging Claw or Wheeling Thrust, the other action will change to Drakesbane. This will mean the combo stays the same as it previously did, with the same potency. However, Drakesbane does not have any positional requirements, so that's one less positional in your rotation every 5 GCDs. So, since Gerskogel itself now enters Life of the Dragon, Mirage Dive now does, well, nothing. It is just a weave that you can use after jump or high jump. Nothing else. A big hit coming here. Dragon Sight has been removed entirely. In Endwalker, they removed the tether, and now they've removed your Pick a Friend ability completely. Very sad stuff. Stardiver now has a 50% reduced damage for all other enemies rather than 30% as well. Furthermore, Heaven's Thrust has a potency decrease from 480 to 400, which is a massive drop. This also means that Life Surge can be used on Drakesbane or Heaven's Thrust now, since they have the same potency. Alright, that's all the pre-level 90 changes for Dragoon. As for the stuff after level 90, at level 92 you get Enhanced Dragonfire Dive, which grants Dragon's Flight upon use of Dragon's Fire Dive. This allows you to use Rise of the Dragon, a 550 potency off GCD. At level 92 you get Enhanced Second Wind, increasing Second Wind's healing potency from 500 to 800, and you get Melee Mastery, increasing a lot of your potency, like all the other classes. At level 96 you get Lance Mastery 4, increasing Vorpal Thrust to Lance Barrage and Disembowel to Spiral Blow. This increases their potencies by 60 and 50 respectively. At level 98 you get Enhanced Feint, increasing the duration to 15 seconds from 10. And then finally, at level 100 you get Enhanced Stardiver, which now grants Starcross ready upon execution. This allows you to use the ability Starcross, a 700 potency off GCD after Stardiver. Alright, so here are some bursts you can do for Dragoon. You can see the burst that we had previously at level 90 Endwalker and the burst that we have now in level 100 Dawntrail. Now you can see they're actually very similar. With the amount of weaves they're all getting the exact same weaves as they were previously, with the actions being very similar. The level 92 action, Rise of the Dragon, replacing one of the Spine Shatter Dives, and Starcross, the level 100 action, replacing the other Spine Shatter Dive, while the third Nostrand can be a replacement for the loss of Dragon Sight. with a couple of animation and visual changes for your attacks as well. Of course, outside of your burst, you will be losing 1 off GCD in Nastron, since at level 90, you always had 1 Nastron outside of your damage phase. If we look at Dawntrail level 90, you can see that it has been reduced a little bit. So because at level 100, we have our level 92 ability and level 100 ability, and at level 90 we don't, the level 90 rotation for Dragoon has been reduced slightly by 2 off GCDs, as you can see here. Anyway, you might think that Dragoon, the one that they said to be revamping, would have the biggest changes. Well, that doesn't mean the other classes won't have drastic changes as well, especially Monk. First off the bat, the gauge has been changed. Big time. What is this thing after all? Twin Snakes doesn't have its damage up, Demolish doesn't have its dot. Those are huge losses. So, what happened? Well, Bootshine now does 220 potency rather than 210, and Oppo form still guarantees a crit. True Strike now does 290 potency rather than 300, and Snap Punch now does 360 rather than 310. For some reason they removed Meditation, and it was replaced with Steeled Meditation and Forbidden Meditation at level 54, which does the exact same thing Meditation did. Only difference now is that Forbidden Chakra and Steel Peak can be assigned to your hotbar. You also have Inspirited Meditation, which, yes, does the exact same thing, but it can turn to Howling Fist, and Enlightened Meditation, which now turns into Enlightenment. I don't know why we need 4 different meditations to cover all the different upgrades, but now you have a lot of control over them. Alright, on to the big changes. What does this gauge do? Well, upon using Dragon Kick, it does 280 potency and grants 1 stack of Oppo's Fury, which increases Bootshine's potency by 200. Twin Snakes no longer does a damage up, now does 340 potency and grants 2 stacks of Raptor's Fury, increasing the potency of 2 strike by 150. Finally, Demolish no longer having a dot does 360 potency and grants 3 stacks of Curl's Fury, increasing the potency of Snap Punch by 100. So what does this mean for your rotation? Well, now, if we have a look at the gauge, it helps to keep track of what attacks to use. And if you don't want to do that, your buttons even glow now to tell you what buttons to press and when. You can't even press any of your second or third combos without having the right stance anymore. As for the rotation, you alternate between Dragon Kick and Bootshine every 3 GCDs, you do 2 True Strikes for every Twin Snakes, and you do 3 Snap Punches for every Demolish. Alright, enough about these changes, let's move on, shall we? The Forbidden Chakra now has a potency increase from 340 to 400, Elixir Field has a potency increase from 600 to 800. After using Riddle of Earth and taking damage, it now grants Earth's Rumination. Riddle of Earth can now also change to Earth's Replay, a red-white cure for everyone with 300 potency or 500 after taking damage with Riddle of Earth. Brotherhood has been changed and its duration increased from 15 seconds to 20. It now also allows you to store up 10 chakra rather than 5. It looks like this and means the likelihood of you overcapping on chakra is now significantly reduced. The Forbidden Chakra still uses 5 of the chakra on use. These chakra are lost after Brotherhood runs out, so make sure to use them all. Six-Sided Stars had a massive buff to 710 potency, and that potency increases by 80 for each chakra you have open. It will also use the chakra upon use, guaranteeing that you can use this to get away from the boss, then always be able to meditate afterwards since you'll be left with 0 stacks of chakra. Rising Phoenix has had its potency buffed from 700 to 900, and Phantom Rush has been increased from 1150 potency to 1400 potency, a massive increase. Finally, as for the level 90 plus changes, at level 92 you get Beast Chakra Mastery, which upgrades Bootshine, True Strike, Snap Punch, and Elixir Field. As you can guess, these are all potency increases with animation changes. At level 92, you get Enhanced Second Wind, increasing it from 500 to 800 cure potency. You also get Melee Mastery 2, which upgrades the potency of your GCDs that were not previously upgraded. At level 96, you get Wind's Rumination. Upon executing Riddle of Wind, this allows you to use Wind's Reply. and 800 potency GCD afterwards. At level 98, you get enhanced feint, extending it from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. And at level 100, you get enhanced riddle of fire, now granting fire's rumination, which allows you to use fire's reply afterwards. A 1100 potency GCD, even stronger than Elixir Burst and Rising Phoenix. So, the differences in Endwalker level 90 Monk Opener to the Dawntrail level 100 one. Well, the main thing you got was the two new GCDs, Wind's Reply and Fire's Reply. It was already hard enough to fit everything you wanted into Monk's Opener, so now with two more GCDs to put in it, you have to do some shifting. This opener is an example of a Lunar Solar level 90 opener, while this opener is a Solar Lunar level 100 one. There are so many variations and intricacies to Monk openers, so if you are at all interested, I highly recommend checking out the Balance Discord and some of the spreadsheets that they have on there. First thing to remember is that leading Oppo is just an upgrade to Boot Shine. For this opener, you push back your Riddle of Fire damage buff and pull forward your Perfect Balance, using your potion and your damage buffs right before using Rising Phoenix. Then get down Riddle of Wind and start weaving in Forbidden Chakras. Then you can go into your next Dragon Kick, leading into your two new weapon skills, Fire's Reply, which puts you into Formless Stance, and Wind's Reply. This can then go back into using leading Oppo, then you can stick with your Oppo attacks by using Perfect Balance to get your Elixir Burst. The opener is similar, but also very different in a lot of ways. Once again, if you are interested in Monk, I recommend you looking into your own openers, as a lot of them are fight dependent and this one may not be optimal for your fight. And there's a high likelihood that the openers will change as the patches are released. Speaking of which, the rotation right now is actually a bit scuffed. Currently, it is optimal to go leading Oppo, Dragon Kick, Raptor form, Curl form on repeat, rather than just Oppo, Raptor, Curl. Square Enix has already addressed this and will most likely be changed in 7.0.1, so this will no longer be optimal, but currently, funnily enough, it is. A very small DPS increase in your rotation. Oh, and just a quick couple of things before I forget. Because of the potency changes to Elixir Field being changed to 800, and there being no trait to increase it any other time, that means when you unlock Elixir Field at level 60, it is by far your strongest action, with Flint Strike still dealing 600 potency, and the Tornado Kick dealing 850. Because of this, just spamming Lunar Nadi with Elixir Field is actually optimal until you unlock Rising Phoenix at level 86, because 800 potency spammed over and over again is stronger than having 800, 600, and 850 spammed over and over again. So, they will most likely update this soon enough, but right now, just spamming Lunar Nadi Elixir Fields is optimal below level 86. Yeah, they really screwed up some of the monk potencies in this patch, huh? Oh, and then one other thing, Anetman is now gone. Just thought I'd throw that out there if anyone cared. As someone who started playing Monk and Endwalker, it kinda means nothing to me. But yeah, I thought I should add that. There we go. And that's it for Monk. I think this was probably the biggest of the changes for the melee DPS classes. With that said, let's move on to Ninja, which was not spared from the changes either. If you have a look at my gauges, the Huton gauge is now removed and replaced with this Kunai gauge instead. So how does it work? Well, Horizon has been completely removed, obviously, as it serves no purpose without the Huton gauge. And what does Armor Crush do now? Well, it grants you 2 Kunai, or Kazimatoi, on use. These increase the potency of Alliant Edge by 100. And the next question would be, what the heck does the ninjutsu, Huton, do now? Well, it deals damage, 240 to the target and all other enemies near it. It also grants Shadow Walker, which lets you use effects that you can only use when hidden, like Trick Attack for instance. But if Huton allows you to use Trick Attack, then what does Suton do? Well, it also grants Shadow Walker. It just does 500 single target damage potency instead. So now Huton is just the AoE equivalent to Suton. Mug no longer gives 40 Ninki upon use. Now at level 66 it changes to Doku Mori, which deals 300 damage and still increases the Ninki gauge by 40. As expected, Mezui dispels Shadowwalker now, rather than the previous Suton, which was replaced with Shadowwalker, so it works the same way as before. Phantom Kemaitachi can now be assigned straight to your hotbar if you so please it, and to replace your Huton speed up, now at level 45, you get a trait called, imaginatively, Increase Attack Speed, which does exactly as it says. You will get to keep your increased ninja skill speed. That's all the pre-level 90 changes. As for after, at level 92 you get Trick Attack Mastery, upgrading Trick Attack to Kunai's Bane, a 600 potency off GCD which does the same thing as Trick Attack. At level 94 you get Enhanced Second Wind, increasing the potency to 800 from 500, and you get Melee Mastery free, which increases a lot of your potencies, like all the other classes. At level 96 you get Enhanced Dokumori, which grants Higi upon use. Remember, Dokumori is just an upgraded mug. Higi allows you to use a stronger weave, either Death Frog Medium, an upgrade to Hell Frog Medium, or Zesho Meppo, an upgrade to Bava Kakra. At level 96 you get Enhanced Feint, which does, increases it to 15 seconds. And at level 100 you get Enhanced Tenchi Jin, which now grants Tenri Jindo ready. This allows you to use the off GCD Tenri Jindo at 1000 potency attack. And that's it for Ninja. Other than the potency changes, technically the only rotation change after level 90 is the fact that you get an extra weave after using Tenchi Jin. But that's it, so the rotation won't change much towards level 100. If we have a look at the Ninja openers now between Endwalker level 90 and Dawntrail level 100, so the first thing we can see is Kunai's Bane. The replacement for Trick Attack can be pushed back 1 GCD. If you use it as a late weave, you should still be able to get the final Rayton inside of it. Instead of using Eleon Edge, we now use Armor Crush, and then from then it is identical to beforehand until we get to our new level 96 ability, Zesho Meppo, which is just a replacement for Babak Kekra. And then we can see our new level 100 ability here, Tenri Jindo, 1000 potency weave after Tenchi Jin. Oh, and be careful not to use Huton pre-pool anymore, or it's gonna be awkward. Moving on to Samurai now. Mieko Shisui has been changed slightly. It now lasts 20 seconds and grants Tsubame Geshi ready for 30 seconds. This allows you to use Tsubame Geshi, which no longer has its own cooldown, but instead is only available after using Mieko Shisui. And Tsubame Geshi can no longer be used to repeat Higobana, unfortunately, for those extremely niche situations. Shoha has been changed. It now affects all enemies in a straight line before you, and following this, Shoha 2 is now gone forevermore. You have a new skill, Tengetsu, an upgrade to Third Eye. This now grants Tengetsu's Foresight after getting hit, which gives you a 500 potency cure after 8 seconds. And finally, Kishi Namikiri is now a weapon skill, not an ability. And on to the new stuff. At level 92, you get Hazaki Mastery, upgrading Hazaki, your first attack, to Gyofu, giving it a visual change and potency upgrades. But of course, at level 94, everything else is getting potency upgrades anyway, with the Way of the Samurai free. You'll also be getting Enhanced Second Wind, increasing potency from 500 to 800. And also at level 94, you'll be getting Enhanced Hazatu, reducing Hazatu Gurin and Hazatu Sene to 60-second recast times, which is pretty good. At level 96, you'll receive Enhanced Hiki Shoten 2, which grants Zenshin ready after using Iki Shoten. This allows you to use Zenshin and 900 potency off GCD cone attack afterwards, which costs 50 Kenki to use. At level 98, you get Enhanced Feint, extending it from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. And at level 100, you get Enhanced Meikyo Shisui 2, which lets Meiko Shisui grant Tendo lasting 30 seconds, Then Tenka Goken changes to Tendo Goken, and letting you use Tendo Keishi Goken with your Tsubame Geishi. Then, for single target, Midari Setsugetsu turns into Tendo Setsugetsu, which then lets you use Tendo Keishui Setsugetsu off of Tsubame Geshui. And that's all for Samurai, which, if you ignore the potency increases and animation changes, really just gets some cooldown reductions, which lets you use one more off GCD every minute, and then an extra off GCD, which is a cone, but that uses 50 Kenki to use, which means you'll actually be losing 2 off GCDs to use it. So not much really changes. For the differences in the Samurai openers between level 90 Endwalker and level 100 Dawntrail, you can see that they're actually strikingly similar. So the first thing you can see is the swapping of the potion and Ikkyo Shoten between level 90 and 100. As for the GCDs, they're all the same throughout the entire opener, with a couple of them having visual changes like Midare. And then the last change is the fact that Zanshin takes up 50 of your Kenki gauge, which means you actually lose one of your Hisatu Shinten weaves, as we can see in the level 90 opener. Anyway, I'm glad I don't have to butcher any of those pronunciations anymore. As for the final melee, Reaper, Harpy has been updated to increase the soul gauge by 10 on use. Hell's Ingress and Hell's Egress now grant enhanced Harpy, which does exactly the same thing it did before, but it now gives you a buff. Regress's recast time has been changed from 10 seconds to 1 second, which, once again, changes nothing. Harvest Moon now also increases your soul gauge by 10 as well, and Plentiful Harvest no longer gives you 50 Shroud gauge. It now grants Ideal Host, which allows you to use Enshroud. So it does the same thing it did before, just now it doesn't affect your gauge in any way. There's been some small tweaks to trait wording and names as well, but it doesn't actually change anything. So yeah, very minimal changes to Reaper. What about post level 90? At level 92 you get Enhanced Enshroud, granting Oblatio after using Enshroud. This lets you use an extra weave in Enshroud called Sacrificium, which does 530 potency and replaces Gluttony for that temporary time. At level 94, you get Enhanced Second Wind, increasing the potency from 500 to 800, and you get Melee Mastery 3, which increases the potency of, well, a lot by a lot. At level 96, you get Enhanced Gluttony, granting 2 stacks of Executioner upon use. This changes Gibbet to Executioner's Gibbet, Gallows to Executioner's Gallows, and Guillotine to Executioner's Guillotine, being a potency upgrade and a visual change. At level 98, you get Enhanced Feint, as per usual, increasing Feint to 15 seconds. Finally, at level 100, you get Enhanced Plentiful Harvest, which lets Plentiful Harvest grant you Perfectio Occulta. This buff changes to Perfectio Parata after executing Communio. Communio then changes to Perfectio at the end of your Enshroud phase, letting you use Perfectio after casting Communio. If we compare the Reaper's Endwalker level 90 opener to Dawntrail's level 100 opener, we can see a couple of differences. Obviously our new level 92 ability coming in here after we go into our Enshroud phase, and then also our Enshroud phase ending in Perfectio now, which extends the whole opener by 1 weave and 1 GCD. And then we can also see our new Executioner's Gibbet and Gallows being used after Gluttony here, but that won't change the rotation, just the visual effect of those moves. As a reminder, all the openers shown in this video may not be perfect and will not be the best openers to use in all content. Openers are often alterable depending on your encounter, so make sure to do your own research and figure out what is best for your own fight. And that's it for all the melees. Lots to get through there. What do you think about it? Are you loving or hating the changes? Let me know. I feel like I can't give my opinion just yet without properly giving them a shot. I am looking forward to trying some of the higher level abilities towards level 100. Anyway, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Just one more class changes video left to go, which lets you use Miku Shusui, which lets you use Miko Shu, which lets you use Miku Shu, which lets you use Miku, which lets you, fuck's sake, which lets you use Mako Shisui, which lets Mako Shisui grant Tendo. Like, you do two true strike. You do two true strikes for every twin snakes.